Good morning and welcome to Our Town here on Hometown Radio 103.7 FM and 1340 WAGN. I'm Ken Connors. Well, it is the unofficial start to summer this weekend. Everyone gearing up for the Memorial Day holiday weekend, which sees a lot of visitors coming to and through the M&M area. A few local attractions, of course, start their seasons right around the Memorial Day holiday, including the Menominee County Historical Museum. And here with me this morning, Mike Kaufman, the Executive Director of the Menominee County Historical Society, gearing up for another great season, hopefully, at the museum here in town, I assume.
Yeah, good morning, Ken. We're looking forward to a good season.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Can we first, let's ask, the first day of the museum is actually going to be this Monday, Memorial Day.
It will. It'll be Monday, Memorial Day, May 25th. And our hours are 10 a.m. till 4 p.m., and that's Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, we're open from 12 noon until 3 p.m.
Can we start with talking a little bit about the history of the society, of the museum itself? How long has all of this been going on? I understand, if I've seen some of the dates correctly, we're nearing about 50 years or so for the Historical Society itself?
Yes, you're correct. That is. The first meeting of the Menominee County Historical Society was held January 17th, 1967, in what they then called the Board of Supervisors room at the Menominee County Courthouse. It was later, around 1970, that the Society acquired its first museum, and that location was the old Washington Grade School on 2nd Street. The museum later, in 1976, obtained the St. John's Catholic Church from the Diocese of Marquette from Bishop Charles Slatka, and they transferred the deed to the church for $1 and then sold us the beautiful stained glass windows for $20,000. So we've been located in the church building since 1976. That building itself is on the National Register of Historic Places.
It's a beautiful building there. It's a great facility for folks that haven't been there. Hopefully, folks here in town checking out some of the local history obviously have those stained glass windows. You've even had those sort of displayed, especially at the holiday seasons past years.
Yes, we have. And then a lot of times we get visitors during the summer that aren't necessarily interested in the heritage of Menominee County. They may have been married in that church or baptized in a church. That may have been their family parish, and we get a lot of them come just to see the interior of the church and to see the beautiful windows.
Oh, very cool. Understand, is it a new curator this year for the museum?
We do. We have a new curator. It's Jean Stegman of Menominee.
Okay, our very own mayor is actually
it is
the curator.
The mayor,
okay.
Yes, and she is our curator, and she's been working hard setting up some new displays.
So let's talk about those displays. Let's start with what's new at the Menominee County Historical Museum here this year.
Well, one thing we decided to focus on, it was the 150th anniversary of the end of the Civil War. And the Society is in possession of a Civil War flag that is a national flag, and it's from 1861. We've only displayed it once before. We'll be displaying that all summer. Along with that, the national flag is different from what people recognize as the St. Andrew's Cross or the Stars and Bars. That one was adopted as their national flag in 1863. We also have one of those on display. Also, the display will include a history on James Lyon, who was the last surviving Civil War veteran in the Upper Peninsula. He died here in Menominee at the age of 103.
Really? So, interesting local connection there to the Civil War, to, that long
It really
period.
is. He would, early on, he would dress in his uniform and he would recite the Gettysburg Address. Then as he got older, the parade used to run from the Veterans Memorial Park out to Riverside Cemetery, and they would divert the parade out to go past Jim Lyon's house, and he would be on the porch.
The parade, Memorial Day parade?
They would run that by his house. And
oh, interesting.
They would salute him.
Huh. Kind of interesting that you mentioned that too. James Lyon, the last person in the UP that fought in the Civil War to die here. Something kind of along those similar lines, but tied in with the Vietnam era.
40 years since the end of the Vietnam War, too. And the last soldier killed in combat in the Vietnam War was from Menominee, and it was Lieutenant Colonel William Nolde. He was killed in an artillery barrage 11 hours before the war ended.
Really? That's maybe a piece of history plenty of folks, especially people around my age, might not be that aware of.
Right. And in our display, we have Colonel Nolde's medals. There's a picture of him. There's a picture of his family in the Oval Office with President Nixon. William was promoted to full colonel posthumously, and the family went to Washington, D.C. and received the commendation from the president himself. And we'll be having a display on that.
Fascinating piece of history here. A lot of history, obviously. Menominee County, too. Interesting how we play into some of those national and worldwide events. Something else, I believe you have a new display this year, and it involves the Bay Area Medical Center Auxiliary. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, it's their 65th anniversary. And the historian of their group is Bonnie Paulson. And Bonnie is also on our board of directors with the Historical Society, and she operates our gift shop in the museum. And Bonnie asked if she could set up a display in recognition of that 65th anniversary of the auxiliary. And she's been working on that all week, and I've seen it. It's very nice. It has some of the older style of their uniforms. There's a lot of photographs. It's just very interesting if how that organization progressed over the years.
Besides the new displays, are those mainly the new displays for this year?
Yes, they're pretty much the newest ones right now.
What's some of the other displays that are at the museum?
Well, the one that we highlighted last year was the dugout canoes, and that was extremely popular. And they're, of course, still on display along with some of the Stone Age Indian artifacts and some copper culture artifacts. There's a very nice Northern Airs display of our drum and bugle corps. People really seem to enjoy that one. Gene Stegman put together this nice country kitchen with like the old style of washboards and butter churns and stuff like that. And that one's pretty nice. And then the May Dugas, the Baroness de Palant, our famous Baroness, there's a nice display on her with her dress is highlighted in that.
Very cool. Some very interesting historical items, of course, on display at the Menominee County Historical Museum. Talking with Mike Kaufman, the executive director of the Menominee County Historical Society, on today's show. Of course, the museum here in Menominee getting ready to open for the season. Its first day is actually going to be Monday, Memorial Day. Going to talk more with Mike when we come back here on Our Town. You're listening to Hometown Radio, 103.7 FM and 1340 WAGN. Stick around. Welcome back to Our Town. I'm Ken Connors. Today, I'm joined by Mike Kaufman, the executive director of the Menominee County Historical Society, talking with the Historical Society today because it's a pretty big weekend, actually, for them coming up here. Memorial Day actually marks the opening of the Menominee County Historical Museum here in Menominee. Mike, can you run through those hours one more time for me? When does the Historical Society's museum open for the season, and when is it open throughout this summer?
Okay, yeah, the museum itself is open beginning Monday, May 25th, and it's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays from 12 noon until 3 p.m.
I believe it's next door to the museum is the Research Center. What is the Research Center? Can you tell me a little bit about that one? It's a whole sort of different thing over there next to the museum.
Yeah, the Michael Anuta Research Center is located across the alley from the museum where the St. John's School was located. That building was torn down in around 1981. The Society built a research center, and that holds our collection of photographs and paper artifacts. That's all the newspapers going back to 1871. It's our photo collection of about 17,000 photographs. And then there are other reference things like city directories and atlases, school annuals, a lot of that stuff, all local stuff.
Very cool. And folks are actually able to visit that on Wednesdays, it sounds like.
That'll be open this summer starting on May 27th, which is the Wednesday following Memorial Day. And that'll be open from 1 in the afternoon until 5 in the afternoon. And our librarian this year is Mike Model. And this is his second year with us.
Folks, they like to come in there, I'm guessing, checking out things like family histories, stuff along those lines?
Genealogy seems to be one of the biggest requests. Sometimes there's a specific request for like a Menominee business, or I actually had 2 requests over the winter. One person that wants to do a film documentary on the Alvin Clark, our mystery ship, And then another one wanted to include the Alvin Clark in a coffee table book that he was producing, and it's going to have about 4 pages about the Alvin Clark in this book that he's putting out. He's a author from down in Milwaukee, and his publishing company is in Milwaukee.
Very cool. I assume it's kind of nice, even fairly important, to have a center like that available here for folks that get a good amount of history out of that.
We're lucky to have it. It was foresight by the original members of the Historical Society to dedicate that money and raise funds to build that building. And, part of the goal is to accumulate and preserve the history of Menominee in the area.
Another facility, another location that the Historical Society is associated with is the Chappie Rapids Learning Center. This is one of those names I've always heard out there. I've never really been that familiar with what this actually is. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Chappie Rapids is a location. It's an 11-acre plot that the Historical Society owns. It's 6 miles up the river. Louis Chappie was the first fur trader to settle permanently in the area, and he was on the Marinette side of the river. And he was displaced by Farnsworth. And Chappie then moved farther up the river and built a post at the rapids that are then called Chappie Rapids. We came into possession of that property. We've developed it. We have a pavilion out there. There are trails. It's run by a group that is like a subcommittee of the Historical Society, and it's Chappie Rapids Learning Center, and then they share the site with the Audubon Society. In the fall, early fall, late summer, when school's back in session, they take the students out there, and I believe it's 5th graders. And every 5th grader from all the different school districts in the area, including Marinette, Peshtigo, Menominee, Stevenson, even up through like Bark River and Hannahville, and they're invited down. And there's 1 week that the group puts on a tour for the kids. And on the 11-acre site, the kids get to walk the 11 acres, and there are stations set up. And one of them is logging, one is fur trading, one is natural science, Native Americans. And as they walk through the trails, they come to these sites, and there are characters there in costume that then educate them about the history of Menominee County.
Very cool. A great learning experience, I'm sure, for the younger generation there.
It is. It's gotten harder in later years now for the schools. It's expensive for them to do a field trip, to get the bus and the driver and get the kids down here and that. But they still, I think, are doing pretty well out there. I know the kids look forward to it. The Stevenson kids, after they finish there, will come and tour the museum. And even though the museum is closed at that time, we open up special for them just so that they can come through and see the museum.
Very nice. I understand, too, in about a month or so, is it? One of the summer activities Menominee County Historical Society going to be offering for the public. The cemetery tour. Are you touring Riverside Cemetery here in Menominee?
Yeah. We used to do a cemetery tour. We did it a couple years in a row with horse-drawn wagons. This time around, it's going to be wagons pulled by antique tractors. And that's going to be June 28th. And it's going to run from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. The tickets will be sold in time slots so that you have to reserve what wagon it is you want to get on. Otherwise, you could sit there and wait for an hour or an hour and a half to actually get on a wagon, and we don't want that. There'll be 25 people per wagon. The tickets will be on sale at the museum. I don't right now have the information of how that's going to be handled. I know the price is $10.
And obviously limited availability on that too. So want to make sure once those tickets are available there, get your hands on them if you want to take part in that.
I think that's part of the idea too, in that having a reserved seat so that you won't be turning people away. Once you've filled the seats, then you won't sell any more tickets.
Okay. Well, very cool. It sounds like looking forward again to another really action-packed sort of season coming up here for the Historical Society, between the museum, the research center, of course, the cemetery tours, and hopefully getting some kids out to the Chappie Rapids Learning Center.
It's always surprising to me. We have our annual meeting where we elect our officers, and we have a dinner out at Riverside Country Club, and our secretary, Catherine Merwin, she always prepares a list of things we've done over the year. And even though I was involved in most of them, I'm always surprised at really how much we've done in any calendar year. It's just kind of fun to look at her list that she compiles from the minutes and stuff like that. And We are a very active society with roughly 200 members, about 20 people on the board of directors that also serve in other capacities. That's why they're on the board of directors. But we are always looking for members, and we always need volunteers. We're always looking for greeters at the museum, and they work on that 6-hour day. They work a 3-hour shift. One group would work from 10 till 1, and then 2 people or 3 people would come in and relieve them and work from 1 till 4. You're never alone there. You always have somebody with you. Usually if you're new, they partner you with somebody who's experienced. And you don't have to know a lot about Menominee's history. You just need to kind of greet people. We don't really expect you to be a guide or a docent or anything like that. It's just somebody there to welcome them.
Very cool. I'm talking today with Mike Kaufman. He's the executive director of the Menominee County Historical Society. One of the things we've been talking about today is, of course, the Menominee County Historical Museum here in Menominee, going to be opening for the season on Monday, Memorial Day. So it's going to be a big weekend for the Historical Society and Museum. Talking more with Mike when we come back here on today's show. You've got it on Our Town here on Hometown Radio 103.7 FM and 1340 WAGN. Stick around. It's Our Town. I'm Ken Connors, joined today by Mike Kaufman, the executive director of the Menominee County Historical Society. Big weekend, of course, coming up here for the Historical Society as the Menominee County Historical Museum opening for the season, of course, on Monday, Memorial Day. Very cool. A lot of interesting historical items there, even some new displays for this season, some Civil War era stuff that's going to be in there. Very interesting. It's really cool to check out. I've been to the museum before. It's just surprising to see some of the history here in Menominee County. Very interesting. I wanted to ask you, Mike, something that folks might be, of course, aware of the museum doing pretty much annually, if I understand, the Haunted Museum. This is a little bit after the summer period. Are you thinking about doing that again this year?
Yeah, Luann Borski, our president, usually sets that up, and it's an annual Haunted Museum. And this year I see she had it scheduled for October 23rd and 24th. It started just kind of as a fundraiser idea. I think mostly because they found that when they covered everything in the museum, which we cover stuff with sheets to put it away for the winter, I think some of them thought it was kind of scary in there. So they thought, we could make this even scarier if we added some things to it. And again, that's with characters in costume around, and you walk through the museum. And it's geared, it's not a horribly frightening haunted house.
Family friendly.
It would be family fun. Sometimes the real little kids are scared. Just being in a big old building like that in the middle of the night kind of scares them. But if, a 12-year-old would have fun with it, maybe be a little scared. An adult's going to think it's just kind of fun.
Well, very cool. Something to look forward to as we get into the fall, into that Halloween time frame and frame of mind. Folks coming to the museum, of course, during its summer hours, you're opening Memorial Day, as we said, and you're running through Labor Day.
Yes.
And can you run through those hours one more time for visitors?
Sure. Again, it's Monday through Friday. It's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays from noon to 3. And then the Research Center is only on Wednesday afternoons, and that is running from May 27th through August 26th, and that's open from 1 until 5 p.m., and there is somebody there that is there to assist you in whatever search you have. It's Mike Model.
At the museum, if I remember correctly, you've got the guest book, and people typically sign in as they come and visit. I'm kind of curious, Mike, any idea, folks that come to the Menominee County Historical Museum, are they local? Are they from out of the area when they come and check you out?
Yeah, Ken, we have a guest register right by the front door when people come in and they sign in. And I look in there occasionally to see, we try to average around 1,000 visitors a season. And it runs about 50-50 between local residents and tourists. And then some of them are like people who come home for class reunions, and they want to come in and they want to see the museum. So some of those I'm kind of torn. Are they tourists or are they local? Because they're local people come home for the Waterfront Festival or for a class reunion or a wedding or something like that. But they like to come in and reminisce.
What do you think folks get out of a visit to the Menominee County Historical Museum? Is it just a step back into the past of the local area?
Yeah, some of them, like I say, some of them are very specific about, I hear you have a Northern Eras display. one of my favorites is there's an animated circus. That's a miniature circus that was built by Bill King, who was he had been the director until he passed away. And it's animated, and you push the button, and the calliope starts playing the music, and things in the big layout start moving. And I always tell the kids, there's 8 things moving out there, see how many you can find. And then they kind of run around it trying to find the animated parts of it. And that one's always fun. But a lot of people just walk through just for the entertainment of it. But then, like I say, some are looking for something specific, like the May Dugas, or hopefully people will come out specifically to see the Civil War display. It's very nice. I have to say, Gene Stegman did a wonderful job with it.
Of course, Menominee County Historical Museum. It's sort of run there by the Menominee County Historical Society. Folks that are interested, I should mention, always looking for members for the Historical Society.
Absolutely. You can reach us on our website.
And that's, what is it, MenomineeHistoricalSociety.org?
Yes, it is.
Plenty of information on the organization right there on the website again, MenomineeHistoricalSociety.org. Looking forward to another great season, another great summer for the Menominee County Historical Museum, and, of course, the Anuta Research Center pretty much next door. It's going to be a fun summer here in Menominee, and a lot of history on display there at the museum. Be sure to come and check it out. Mike, thank you so much for being here this morning and sharing some information with us on the museum and the society.
Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome. Again, my guest today, Mike Kaufman, the Executive Director of the Menominee County Historical Society. You've been listening to Our Town here on Hometown Radio, 103.7 FM and 1340 WAGN. I'm Ken Connors. Be sure to tune in again next week. I'll see you then, and have a fun and safe Memorial Day holiday weekend.